So this video is a little impromptu, but I wanted to make it in light of the upcoming Star Wars movie that's going to be coming out. Not because I have a review or any particularly special thoughts regarding this, but because I want to preface a theory or prediction I have about the plot. I'm doing this because it's very easy for anyone to watch a movie, come out of it, and say, oh, I saw that coming from a mile away, or I predicted it a while ago. I'd like to demonstrate that with some proof, so I don't look like some guy who's got his head stuck up his own ass. With that in mind, I'd like to present this. On August 24th at 4 p.m., I had responded to another user on Twitter, and I had said, here is my hypothesis. And this is commenting on this particular poster for Rise of the Skywalker. That pattern on Palpatine looks like it could be a hologram, so it might be a post-death contingency plan recording or something. I also think Rey is a sleeper agent for the Emperor as part of that plan. My idea isn't likely, but if it's true, wow. Someone else responded saying it would be the ass pull of the decade and still be pulled off terribly. LOL. My response to that, to expand upon some of the reasoning behind it, and I'll go more in depth, but again, the date that I posted this is important to preface that I said this before most of the material that supports this had come out. The main reason I say this is because, number one, it would explain how Rey is so skilled at everything with no training, as in she actually had training, but as a sleeper agent didn't actually remember it. And number two, it would be insanely useful to have someone inside the rebellion to sabotage it. I am hesitant to say that this is going to happen or likely, and you're right, I ain't trusting it to be done well. However, these are just the conclusions I've come to with the little info the trailer gives. So that's my idea, and I'll elaborate more on this. On August 26th, not 2 days after I said this, the new Rise of Skywalker trailer shows up, and you see an evil Rey with a set, or I should say a single, double-sided foldable red lightsaber, implying that she's evil or she's turned somehow. And, mind you, movie's not out. Could be like a hallucination, could be a dream, could be a clone, a fake. Like, it could be anything that doesn't actually have it be her. But if what we see on screen seems to be the case, then I was right. And it's okay if I'm not right, but let me present this to you. So, what I'm presenting is the notion that Rey in the movie is going to be portrayed as a sleeper agent. The idea being that it seems extremely strange, given this movie and everything else that has been around this movie series, that Rey grew up essentially alone on a desert planet, scrounging around for a bunch of scraps, and then A is extremely competent in combat and can expertly pilot most ships, and is extremely adept in the Force, all at once, while also being a genuinely nice person who always sees the good in people and yada yada. I'm not going to get into the, we'll say, Mary Sue accusations in this particular video, because, I'm not a Star Wars channel, I barely cover movies on this channel anyway, but the thing is, the idea is, all of that happening, like, you just find this insanely competent person who's essentially just growing up in abject poverty on this planet. And what I would like to present is more the idea that this person, Rey, was actually trained from a very young age to be a Sith, and that they had either wiped her memory or used something akin to like a Force power to make her forget, and then planted her on this planet, knowing that this would be a place that is important for either the First Order or the Resistance. And then you see this happen too. As soon as she's presented with someone who's a member of the Resistance, she just immediately goes along with them without questioning it much. There's a little bit there, but the fact that she's willing to give her all for these people that she's barely met and could, die at any moment is, it begs the question. What would be their motive to do this? You have to consider, the idea of a sleeper agent inside the Resistance is an insanely useful tool. Someone who can gather secrets about the Jedi and the Resistance and sabotage their plans from within, should it come to that. And we're at the point right now where she hasn't explicitly needed to sabotage anything, because even though things have not gone to plan in regards to Starkiller Base, they're pretty much on the run constantly. You have to remember that as of right now, the only thing that they've lost is some forces, and while it's a very important base, a single base. At the end of the day, they still have a huge empire, and in the end of Last Jedi, they succeeded in killing Luke. You know, they're not necessarily worse off. So I don't know what we'll say Palpatine's plan is, because you know they've been showing bits and bits of him more as the trailers go on. But the theory I'm giving is either she's completely unrelated to him by blood, but was raised by him, which adheres to the "your parents were nobody" line in Last Jedi. See, your parents can be nobody. Your grandparents, though, might not be anybody. And you have to remember, when they talked about the idea of him, abandoning the kid on the planet, I assumed that she wouldn't be able to actually raise herself in this instance. And again, parents could have said, well, we need the money, we'll just sell it to this old dude, and then he trains her as a Sith. So I didn't want to necessarily go super huge in depth, but I initially came up with this theory because, to be frank, I just found the idea of her being hyper competent at everything without any explanation just be a bit absurd, and that her having been competent the whole time and just merely faking it for the sake of dramatic purposes, that idea there is the only thing I can present as a narratively satisfying way to kind of tie up loose ends throughout the series. I don't know if they're going to do that in the movie, but I would be very pleased if they did something like that, because A, it would explain all the holes I just mentioned from before, and it means I can be, get bragging rights on the internet, so woohoo! Anyway, this is just a short thing. I will be coming back and making an update to the description of this when the movie actually releases. I just wanted to release this before the movie, so I could objectively say I called it before anything was there, because I don't want people to think I just said I knew all along when I didn't. Cheers.